The sands of time bore witness to the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt. Led by Moses, they had escaped the clutches of Pharaoh. They had witnessed God's power in the wilderness. Now, after 40 years of wandering, they stood on the brink of a new chapter. Before them lay Canaan, a land promised by God to Abraham and his descendants, a land flowing with milk and honey, a testament to God's faithfulness. Yet this land was not uninhabited. It was a land of giants and fortified cities, a land of challenges and battles ahead. The Israelites carried within their hearts the legacy of Moses. They remembered his unwavering faith, his leadership, and his close communion with God. But Moses, their faithful shepherd, had ascended Mount Nebo and breathed his last. A new era was dawning, and the weight of leadership fell upon the shoulders of a man named Joshua. He was to be the one to lead them into the promised land. He was to be the instrument of God's promise. Joshua was no stranger to the ways of God. He had served as Moses' aide, a faithful apprentice under his guidance. He had witnessed firsthand the plagues upon Egypt, the parting of the Red Sea, and the giving of the law on Mount Sinai. He had learned the importance of obedience, the power of faith, and the unwavering faithfulness of God. Now he was called to step into a new role, a role that would test his limits and forge his character. God, in his infinite wisdom, knew what Joshua needed to hear. He knew the weight of responsibility that rested on Joshua's shoulders. So he spoke directly to Joshua's heart. Words of encouragement, words of assurance, words of divine commission. "Be strong and very courageous," God commanded, "for I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you." These words were not just for Joshua, they were for the entire nation of Israel. A reminder that their God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, was fighting for them. The task ahead was daunting. The inhabitants of Canaan were fierce warriors, their cities fortified and seemingly impenetrable. Fear could have easily gripped the hearts of the Israelites. They had witnessed the might of Pharaoh's army. They had faced hunger and thirst in the wilderness, but God in his mercy had prepared them for this moment. He had shaped them, molded them, and refined their faith through trials and triumphs. Joshua, emboldened by God's promises, relayed the divine message to the people. He reminded them of God's faithfulness, his power, and his unwavering love. He challenged them to rise to the occasion, to cast aside their fears, and embrace the challenges ahead. The call to conquer was not just a military campaign, it was a spiritual battle. It was a test of faith, a testament to their obedience. It was a journey that would forever shape their destiny as a people chosen by God. Joshua stood at a crossroads, the weight of the nation heavy on his heart. He was no longer simply Moses' aide, learning the intricacies of leadership. He was now the leader, the one chosen by God to guide his people into their destiny. The land of Canaan, rich and fertile, beckoned in the distance, yet Joshua knew that the path to its blessings was fraught with peril. The memory of Moses, his mentor and friend, was etched in his mind. Moses, who had spoken face to face with God, who had parted the Red Sea, who had brought forth water from a rock. How could Joshua hope to fill those sandals, to lead with such unwavering faith and courage? The task seemed insurmountable, yet Joshua knew he could not give in to fear. The future of Israel, the fulfillment of God's promises, rested on his shoulders. As if sensing his trepidation, God spoke to Joshua, his words a soothing balm to his anxious heart. "Be strong and very courageous," he commanded, echoing the words he had spoken to Moses countless times before. But God's words were more than a command. They were a promise. "Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." These words resonated deep within Joshua's soul, igniting a spark of hope and determination. God himself, the creator of the universe, the one who had delivered them from slavery, would be by his side. He would not face the challenges ahead alone. With God as his guide, his strength, his shield, how could he possibly fail? The fear that had threatened to consume him began to dissipate, replaced by a quiet confidence, a deep-seated trust in the one who held the future in his hands. Joshua, emboldened by God's promise, gathered the Israelites. He relayed God's words, his voice strong and clear, echoing with the authority bestowed upon him. He reminded them of God's faithfulness, his power displayed time and again in the wilderness. He spoke of the battles they had won, not by their own might, but by the hand of God. But victory would require more than just God's presence. It demanded their obedience. They were to be ready to cross the Jordan River, the symbolic and physical barrier separating them from the Promised Land. They were to prepare their hearts and minds for the battles ahead. They were to be strong and courageous, for the Lord their God was with them. And so, with renewed hope and a spirit of obedience, the Israelites prepared themselves for the conquest of Canaan, a land promised by God, a land flowing with milk and honey, a land they would claim as their own. The Israelites stood at the edge of the Jordan River, their eyes fixed on the promised land that lay just beyond. The air buzzed with anticipation, a mixture of excitement and trepidation. For 40 years they had wandered the wilderness, their faith tested, their spirits refined. Now the moment of truth had arrived. The Jordan, swollen from the spring rains, roared before them, a seemingly insurmountable barrier between them and their destiny. Memories of their miraculous deliverance from Egypt flooded their minds. The parting of the Red Sea, a testament to God's power, a symbol of their liberation from slavery. Could they dare to hope for another such miracle? Could this raging river, a symbol of the challenges that lay ahead, be calmed by the hand of God? A doubt whispered in the hearts of some, while others clung to the promises God had made through Moses. Section 2, the Ark of the Covenant, a symbol of God's presence and power. Joshua, ever attuned to the voice of God, gathered the priests. They carried the Ark of the Covenant, a sacred chest containing the very presence of God. It was a symbol of God's covenant with his people, a reminder of his promises and his power. The Ark was to lead the way, a visible reminder that God was with them, guiding their steps, fighting for them. As the priests approached the riverbank, the Israelites held their breath. They had witnessed the power of God manifested through the ark before. They had seen it bring plagues upon Egypt, had felt its presence guide them through the wilderness. Now they watched with bated breath, their hopes and fears intertwined as the priests stepped into the rushing waters. Section 3, waters divided, faith ignited. A new chapter begins. The moment the priest's feet touched the water's edge, something extraordinary happened. The waters upstream stopped flowing, piling up as if held back by an invisible hand. The riverbed below, dry and solid, appeared before them, a path carved through the raging current. A collective gasp arose from the Israelites. It was a scene both terrifying and awe-inspiring, a testament to the power of the God they served. With hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and exhilaration, they followed the ark, stepping onto the dry riverbed. The ground beneath their feet, moments ago submerged beneath a torrent of water, was now solid and firm. It was a moment etched in their collective memory, a testament to the faithfulness of God, a symbol of their transition from wanderers to conquerors. They were crossing not just a river but a threshold, leaving behind a life of uncertainty and stepping into the promise of a new beginning. Section 1. A city of impenetrable walls, the intimidating sight of Jericho. The echoes of the Jordan's miraculous parting still resonated in the hearts of the Israelites. Their faith, tested and tried in the wilderness, had emerged stronger, their spirits emboldened by God's faithfulness. Yet a new challenge loomed large before them, the formidable city of Jericho. Jericho, with its towering walls and heavily guarded gates, stood as a silent sentinel, a symbol of the resistance they faced in claiming the promised land. The sight of those impenetrable walls was enough to strike fear into the hearts of even the bravest warrior. Centuries of military strategy seemed to render any attempt at conquest futile. Doubt whispered in the ranks, threatening to undermine the confidence born from their recent victory. Had they come this far only to be thwarted by walls of stone and the might of men? It was in this moment of uncertainty that Joshua sought divine guidance. The Lord, in his infinite wisdom, unveiled a plan, not of military might, but of unwavering obedience. For 6 days, the Israelites were to march around the city once, the Ark of the Covenant leading the procession, a silent testament to God's presence amidst their ranks. 6 days of marching, with no swords drawn, no arrows loosed, only the sound of their footsteps and the trumpeting of rams' horns filling the air. This unconventional strategy, devoid of any tactical advantage, tested the Israelites' faith. Were they to believe that a mere march devoid of any physical assault would bring down those mighty walls? Yet they had witnessed the impossible made possible, the impassable parted. They had learned that God's ways were not their ways, his thoughts higher than their thoughts. On the 7th day, the atmosphere crackled with anticipation. The Israelites, following Joshua's command, marched around the city 7 times. The silence of the previous days was shattered as they raised a mighty shout, a chorus of voices united in faith and obedience. And as the echoes of their shouts reverberated through the air, a tremor shook the ground beneath their feet. The walls of Jericho, those seemingly impenetrable barriers, crumbled into dust, leaving the city vulnerable and exposed. The Israelites, emboldened by this display of divine power, surged forward, claiming victory over their enemies. Jericho, once a symbol of insurmountable resistance, now lay in ruins, a testament to the power of obedience and the faithfulness of God. News of this astonishing victory spread like wildfire, striking fear into the hearts of their enemies and bolstering the Israelites' faith, for they had witnessed firsthand that with God on their side, even the mightiest walls would crumble. The news of Jericho's fall echoed through the land of Canaan like a shockwave. Fear gripped the hearts of the Canaanite kings. The God of Israel, the one who had parted the Jordan and shattered Jericho's walls, was a force to be reckoned with. Amidst this trepidation, the Gibeonites, a neighboring people, devised a cunning plan. They had heard tales of Israel's God, of his power and his unwavering commitment to his chosen people. Knowing they could not withstand the Israelites in battle, they chose a path of deception. They donned worn-out clothes, carried moldy bread, and approached Joshua with a tale of a long journey from a distant land. They claimed to have heard of Israel's God and his mighty deeds, and sought a treaty of peace and protection. Bound by oath, tested by truth. Joshua's dilemma. Joshua, moved by their apparent sincerity and eager to establish peace, agreed to their request. He made a covenant with them, swearing an oath before the Lord to protect them. Little did he know that he had been deceived, that the Gibeonites were not weary travelers from a far-off land, but inhabitants of the very land he was commanded to conquer. When the truth of the Gibeonites' deception was revealed, a wave of anger and betrayal washed over the Israelites. They felt tricked, their trust violated. They urged Joshua to break the treaty, to punish the Gibeonites for their deceit. But Joshua, a man of his word, found himself torn. He was bound by an oath sworn before the Lord, yet he was also commanded to conquer the inhabitants of Canaan. A call to arms, the shadow of war looms. Joshua, guided by his conscience and his unwavering faith in God's wisdom, chose a path of integrity. He honored the treaty, sparing the Gibeonites' lives. However, he declared them to be hewers of wood and drawers of water, servants to the Israelites, a consequence of their deception. The news of the Gibeonite treaty, though forged in deception, sent ripples of fear through the hearts of the remaining Canaanite kings. They realized that the Israelites, empowered by their God, posed a significant threat to their very existence. Adonizedek, the king of Jerusalem, rallied 4 other kings to his cause, forming a formidable alliance united against the common enemy, the Israelites and their God. The stage was set for a clash of civilizations, a battle that would determine the fate of the Promised Land. A swift and decisive strike Joshua's audacious night march. The alliance of 5 kings, a formidable force under Adonizedek's command, marched upon Gibeon, their armies bristling with weapons, their hearts hardened against the Israelites. News of their advance reached Joshua, a test of his leadership, his faith, and his commitment to the oath sworn before God. Would he stand by the Gibeonites, these people who had deceived him, or would he allow the alliance to crush them? Joshua, ever the strategist, knew that a direct confrontation with the allied forces would be costly. He needed an element of surprise, a way to outmaneuver his enemies and strike a decisive blow. Guided by God's wisdom, he devised a daring plan, a swift and relentless night march, a testament to the Israelites' endurance and their unwavering faith in their leader and their God. The heavens roar, the earth trembles, divine intervention on the battlefield. As dawn broke over the battlefield, the allied kings, confident in their superior numbers, were caught completely off guard. The Israelites, weary from their night march, but their spirits soaring with the fire of righteousness, descended upon them like a whirlwind. Panic rippled through the ranks of the Canaanites as they scrambled to defend themselves against this unexpected onslaught. But the battle was not Joshua's to fight alone. The Lord, true to his promise, unleashed his fury upon the enemies of his people. The heavens roared, the earth trembled, and a tempest of biblical proportions erupted over the battlefield. Giant hailstones, each one a weapon of divine judgment, rained down upon the fleeing Canaanites, their numbers dwindling with every thunderous boom. Sun, stand still, a day of miraculous victory. Joshua, witnessing the chaos and carnage, knew that time was of the essence. The day was waning, and darkness would offer his enemies a chance to regroup, to escape the wrath of God and the fury of the Israelites. In a moment of inspired boldness, he raised his voice and uttered a prayer that would echo through the annals of history. Sun, stand still over Gibeon, and you, moon, over the valley of Ajalon. And the impossible happened. The sun, as if heeding the command of a mere mortal, stood still in the heavens. The moon, too, paused in its celestial journey, bathing the battlefield in ethereal glow. The day was miraculously extended, a testament to the power of God, a sign that the battle belonged to the Lord. A time for conquest pressing onward to victory. The victory at Gibeon, a testament to God's power and the Israelites' unwavering faith, sent shockwaves of fear throughout the land of Canaan. The sun, frozen in its celestial path at Joshua's command, served as a stark reminder that the God of Israel was a force to be reckoned with. Yet the battle for the Promised Land was far from over. Scattered pockets of resistance remained, strongholds of defiance that tested the Israelites' resolve. Joshua, ever mindful of God's command to conquer the land, rallied his weary but triumphant troops. They had witnessed firsthand the power of their God, had tasted the sweetness of victory won not by their own might, but by the hand of the Almighty. Their spirits soared with a potent mix of confidence and righteous zeal. Section 2. The angel of the Lord appears. A divine warrior takes the field. As Joshua prepared his forces for the final push, a figure of awe-inspiring majesty appeared before him. The angel of the Lord, a manifestation of God's presence and power, stood radiant and imposing, his eyes blazing with divine fire. The very air crackled with an otherworldly energy as the angel spoke, his voice booming like thunder across the expectant ranks. "Be strong and courageous," the angel proclaimed, his words echoing the very command God had given to Joshua at the outset of their campaign. "For the Lord, your God, is with you, just as he promised." The angel's presence was both a reassurance and a challenge, a reminder that the battles ahead, though daunting, were already won in the eyes of the Almighty. Section 3. From the northern heights to the southern coast, the land subdued. With renewed determination, fueled by the angel's words and the undeniable presence of God's power, the Israelites pressed onward. They marched north, their swords flashing in the sunlight, their hearts filled with the certainty of victory. City after city fell before their advance, their walls crumbling before the might of the God who fought on their behalf. From the northern heights of Hazor to the southern coast, the land of Canaan echoed with the sound of battle, the clash of steel, the cries of the vanquished. Kings and their armies, once seemingly invincible, were scattered like chaff before the wind. Their idols, powerless to save them, were shattered, their temples toppled, their reign of oppression brought to a decisive end. Section 1. The dawn of a new era. Rest, remembrance, and the seeds of faithfulness. The echoes of battle faded into the whispers of a gentle breeze rustling through the fields of Canaan. The land, once a battleground, now lay quiet, bathed in the warm glow of peace. The Israelites, weary but triumphant, surveyed the fruits of their hard-won victory. The cities that had once stood defiant now lay in ruins, their walls shattered, their idols toppled. The threat of the Canaanite kings, once a source of terror, was no more. The time had come to exchange the sword for the plowshare, to transform the battlefields into fields of grain. Under Joshua's wise leadership, the land was divided among the tribes of Israel, each receiving their inheritance, a tangible reminder of God's faithfulness to his promises. From the fertile plains to the rolling hills, from the banks of the Jordan to the shores of the Mediterranean, the land echoed with the sounds of a people putting down roots, building homes, establishing a new life in the land promised to their forefathers. Section 2, A Legacy Forged in Obedience, the enduring lessons of Joshua's conquest. As the years passed and a new generation arose, the stories of Joshua's conquests were told and retold around countless campfires, etched into the very fabric of their national identity. The miraculous parting of the Jordan, the fall of Jericho's mighty walls, the sun standing still at Gibeon, these were more than just tales of military triumph. They were testaments to the power of faith, the importance of obedience, and the unwavering faithfulness of God. The story of Joshua served as a constant reminder that their God was not a distant deity, but a God who fought for them, who guided their steps, who honored their obedience and blessed their faithfulness. It was a legacy forged in the crucible of battle, a testament to the truth that with God on their side, no obstacle was insurmountable, no enemy unconquerable. Section 3, From Generation to Generation, Carrying the Torch of Faith into the Future. Yet amidst the celebrations and the settling, Joshua, ever the wise and discerning leader, issued a solemn warning. The victory they had achieved was not a guarantee of future success. The land they had inherited was not theirs by right, but by God's grace. Their continued prosperity, their very survival as a nation, hinged upon their unwavering faithfulness to the God who had delivered them from slavery and led them into this land flowing with milk and honey. "Choose this day whom you will serve," he challenged them, his voice echoing with the weight of generations yet to come. "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." It was a challenge issued not just to that generation, but to every generation that would follow. A call to carry the torch of faith, to walk in obedience, to remember the lessons learned on the battlefields of Canaan. The book of Joshua stands as a timeless testament to the power of faith, the importance of obedience, and the unwavering faithfulness of God. It is a story of courage and conquest, of challenges faced and victories won, of a people chosen by God and empowered to claim their inheritance. But it is also a story of responsibility, of the importance of remembering the lessons of the past, of carrying the torch of faith into the future, ensuring that the legacy of Joshua, the faithful servant of God, would continue to inspire and guide generations to come.